In its simplest form, customer segmentation is a process by which you organize your customers with regards to their needs and your services. In this podcast, we discuss how customer segmentation directly links customer behavior and their potential profitability to customer loyalty. Join us as we begin the podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the podcast. I'm Janice Klein's Marketing Manager for AOE, and today we are discussing customer segmentation. In 2022, AOE President Kimberly Kayler wrote a blog about this topic, and I felt like it was relevant for today, so I have her on the podcast with me. Welcome, Kimberly.
Thanks, Janice.
And so today she's going to discuss customer segmentation and how it applies to organizations and can actually improve client relations and all that. So my first question is, Kimberly, can you give us a brief overview of what customer segmentation is and why it's important for businesses?
So customer segmentation is something that you are already familiar with as a consumer. It's the structural process of actually organizing what you provide to clients based on how they fall in a variety of different rankings, which I will help explain throughout this podcast. But it is the ability to actually segment your client or your customers based on a variety of different factors in terms of how they respond, how they react, and then also, most important, in terms of what you do and how you respond to them, what your offerings are. So, for example, a lot of examples that you would be familiar with from the airline industry to the automotive industry. You know, when you buy an airline seat, based on your status, you have the ability to purchase things at different levels or for different prices. And that's all segmented based on buying patterns, habits, behaviors, etc.
So what steps should a business or organization take to begin the process of customer segmentation?
So the best place to start is to really look at what you value in a client. I know for our organization, we sat down and we looked at, does the client treat us with respect? Do they understand the work that we do? Do they pay their bills on time? Are they collaborative in terms of their approach of working with us? A couple of other things that we identified that were really key, not only in terms of how we provide service, but just our ability to actually do a really good job for the client. So we identified what those factors are, and then we were able to go through and rate our clients based on those factors. And it was eye-opening for us because we were able to figure out where we were spending our attention. In some cases, maybe a client that actually ranked really, really low. Maybe they didn't pay their bills very quickly or, on time in any way. They didn't really understand what we did. Because of that mismatch, they were the ones that maybe were the most high maintenance, if you will. Compared to our other clients that maybe ranked as a C or a B or an A level. And you're in danger as an organization if you're spending your time on your D clients or your F clients, the ones that are ranking lower, as compared to your C, B, and A. Now, not all clients are created equal, and this gives you the opportunity as an organization to decide, do we treat all clients equally? So, for example, do you do overnight service for a client if they ask for it? You may decide that for an A or a B client, you would work overnight on an emergency project, but maybe you wouldn't under a C or a D client, or maybe you would for the C or D, but you charge them a higher price. So this gives you the opportunity to think about all of those things, what you value, what the client values or customer values, and then determine the service levels that you provide for them.
Okay. So how can a well-executed segmentation strategy help in identifying high-value clients or customers or whatever it is that your organization has?
So a well-organized client segmentation process, once it's up and running, allows you to really look at the services that you're providing and identify in many ways shortfalls. Like, are we doing everything we should for the A clients? Is there another level of service that we should be providing to them? For those C clients, what can we do to get them to be a B client? Is there some mentoring? Is there some collaboration? Is there some partnering? Is there some proactive step that we can take to move them along on that continuum? Maybe you identify, for example, that a client just really doesn't understand your services, and that's why they ranked lower than another client. So do you spend some time helping them understand the PR process, for example, or how AI works and how to integrate it? So it can be very effective in terms of really zeroing in how to work together and the service levels that you provide. And I know it's something that AOE has, struggled with, because we are known for being very responsive. Well, so what does responsive mean? So are we as responsive to the client that calls us once and just needs one thing? And would we do that overnight work as compared to the client that we've had for 15 years, really understands us, pays our bills, allows us, opportunity to grow? No necessarily right or wrong answers. The right or wrong answers are what works well for your organization, but this gives you that decision tree.
Okay, so that leads me into my next question. Are there common challenges companies face when implementing customer segmentation?
Common challenge is just the mind shift of not necessarily treating all clients equally. If you take a step back, it can be really different, especially if your hallmark for success is your technical expertise and being a service organization. Being very responsive, again, is one of the hallmarks of AOE's team success. So it can create really tough discussions and a mind shift of, hey, we're going to not treat all clients equally. My mom used to say, I'm one of three girls, and my mom used to say to us when we were growing up, when we'd say something, well, that's not equal. And she'd say, well, yeah, maybe it's not equal, but it's fair. So
Hmm.
you have to ask yourself the question of, maybe things aren't equal, but are things fair when you look at all those different factors? And we've had clients that we've helped implement that. It was tough for those early discussions, but they then were able to make the shift, and they recognized really increased profits in most cases too.
Oh, that's great. Well, yeah, not every client is created equal. So,
Yep.
so I know earlier you discussed different things that determine, where a client ranks. Are there any other types of data that you pull from, or that will help you determine what's an effective customer or creating effective customer segmentation?
So what if we take, lessons from the airline industry again, or some other consumer facing type of organizations? um, you are segmented based on maybe the dollars that you spend. If my Delta status is a result of a lot of miles that I have flown, but as we all know, those miles actually really are dollars that Delta has received. So how does that translate to us in the AEC world? Well, it very well could be looking at data related to money that comes in the door. One of the things that we recognized when we did customer segmentation the first time we didn't really look at money. The second time when we looked at it and we really grew our evaluation process, we looked at the dollars in the door as well as profitability. So, the first time we did customer segmentation, maybe 12, 15 years ago, we did look at how profitable a client was for us. This next time, we actually looked at how that translated into revenue. So, for example, we could have a client that was profitable, but they were profitable on a very small project. And so we didn't actually make all that much money. Maybe we enjoyed the work. They ranked really high in a lot of other levels, and we're very thankful for the work. We're very thankful for the client relationship, but it didn't translate into to dollars. When we looked at customer segmentation the second time, and this is a key thing for especially those of you that are providing a professional service, the engineers, the architects, the contractors that are listening, those that are selling things by the billable hour, looking also as how it translates to revenue, because a client could be profitable, but if you don't have a decent amount of revenue coming in, it's profitability on a small piece of the pie. Now, we've come to believe we need a balance of both. So we came up with a ratio related to it in terms of profitability, but also the revenue that comes in the door. So that's just one example of different data sets. You could also look at customer feedback, even asking your team in terms of, do they enjoy the work? Do they enjoy working with the people? Maybe as an engineering firm, you look at the number of change orders that you have with a client to have a good feel for what it is to work for that client, and then in return, what your process should be in terms of providing services for them.
Okay. So, how does customer segmentation contribute to creating personalized marketing strategies?
Great question. So, with the knowledge of where a client falls in our customer segmentation plan, we then look at a personal marketing and growth plan for that client. So, let's say a client is a C client. Maybe we've done a couple of projects for them, but they didn't rank really high in terms of understanding what we do, or but there is a chance for growth for opportunity. We create a customized business development marketing plan geared toward them. So our account managers, our client leads, will meet with that client with the goal of maybe moving them to a B client. Or those B clients, what do we need to do to get them to an A in terms of their ranking? And again, the A, B, C, D, F ranking, if you will, we just assign numbers to all of them in terms of the matrix that we create, on a scale of, maybe out of 25 points or something, 20 to 25 would be an A, and 15 to 20, for example, would be a B. You can come up with your own example, but that's how we did it.
Okay. So, what about like changing marketing, okay, let me start over. Okay, so what about changing market conditions or consumer behaviors? How do you adapt a segmentation strategy to that?
That's a really great question, especially during changing market conditions. If you have a customer segmentation plan in place, it gives you the ability to be a little bit more nimble. So, for example, you could look at your clients, maybe the C clients, and say, hey, you know, we are seeing a downturn, or we're seeing a slowdown in this. What can we do to move one client to a different level? It also gives you the opportunity to identify, based on market conditions, any threats that you have. If you have all your clients in the A bucket, for example, or all your, we know if you have, if you only have 3 clients as compared to 12 and you lose one of them, how dangerous that could be. So looking from market conditions and looking at your customer segmentation plans allows you to be a little bit more nimble in terms of how you build growth. So, for example, do we need to get a couple of more smaller clients, or those C clients, or even those B clients that help build up our portfolio so we don't have all our eggs in one basket?
Okay. So here's my next question. Technology. How do you see this affecting customer segmentation in the next 5 or 10 years?
So again, if we just think in our daily lives, we are already experiencers of customer segmentation in terms of technology. Based on your buying patterns, habits, choices, you get customized emails all the time based on where you fall in a continuum. Your buying habits with the airline, or even a car that you purchased, or maybe even what you did at a grocery store. So those same rules apply to us in the AEC industry in terms of marketing programs. Do you have a customized e-blast that just goes to those B-level clients, or a special offering? So truly looking at making things more personalized, more customized based on their buying pattern, behavior, and also where you want to move them.
Okay. So my last question is, what advice would you give to a business or organization or association that is just starting to explore customer segmentation?
First thing to do is sit down and really have the discussion with your team related to what do we value most in a client, in a customer, in a member, and identify what those things are, and then create a matrix. From there, you will actually go through and evaluate your clients. Every organization that we've done that with, 100% of them have come back and said that they've actually learned quite a bit. They learned quite a bit. The folks that they thought were really good clients maybe weren't when they actually looked at what they value in a client. So that gives you the ability to actually, have those discussions and in terms of, well, what do we do about that? Be very open to comments like, but that's how we always have done it, or this is what we're known for. How can you adapt to changing market forces? How can you be more nimble using this model is really key. And AOE is available to help. We've always been really open about sharing how we approach this and what our customer segmentation model is, and giving you actually the spreadsheet as an example to see how to do it, and then share other ideas in terms of how we've seen others implemented it as well.
All right. Well, thank you, Kimberly. For those of you listening, you can find this blog, Customer Segmentation, Key to Client Relations and Sales Process Development, on our website at aoeteam.com. It's on our resources tab in the blog section. It's all there for you. It's a great blog to read. Thank you so much, Kimberly, for sharing this information with our audience today.
Awesome. Thanks, Janice.
Thank you so much for joining us. We hope this session provides value, and we hope you will join us for our next podcast.